What's going on, Husker fans? Welcome back to Believe in Nebraska Football on the Believe Podcast Network. I am your host, Sam Casaccio, hosting with Husker legends Eric Crouch and Johnny the Jet Rodgers. How are we doing today, fellas?
I know they still call me prop plane, but I'm still flying.
I'm doing good. Yeah, no,
It got me right where I want them.
Hey guys, basketball is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline.
And as your continuous source for all sports wagering information, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports and events, whether that's the NFL, NBA, NHL, MMA, tennis, boxing, or even golf.
Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE, B-L-E-A-V, to receive your rewards. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, guys, so let's get this show started. Tough one. Another tough. I mean, that's every week. It's tough every week.
Every
this
week.
One,
Yeah.
this
Sounds
one was
like a
tough
recording. Sounds like a recording.
Yeah, we're a broken record. Tough week. You're a Husker fan. Life sucks. So we got a 30-point spread. 30 Huskers just had to lose by 30, and they didn't manage to get that done. That's a moment where you got to look in the mirror and just say, where are we? Is this the bottom? Are we going to push off from this moment? Huskers got a little snake bit in this one. You end up losing Chubba Purdy, who I actually thought came out. He started again, despite my complaints last week, and played pretty good. He made one really good throw on the first possession. And then, he made some plays with his legs, but ultimately on one of those scrambles, he ends up kind of with a high ankle sprain. So now we're down him. And it's somehow we end up down Mark Whipple. Logan Smothers ends up playing in the second half. What do we see from the QBs here, guys?
Go on, Eric. You the QB master.
Master
the QB.
I'm no QB master, but
tell me something.
Yeah.
It's hard on my receivers. The wide receivers got a hard life going.
I mean, we talked about this last week. It's there's not a lot of experience out there at the QB position. So right now with those guys, and it's their opportunity to showcase their talents and to lead their team and to get them ready to go. And we're just seeing where things just aren't lining up for them. I mean, with the injuries and things like that. I will agree though. Chubba looked pretty solid with his running and his throwing early, and I think that hurt when he left the game. And but Smothers has got to be ready. I mean, you got two guys that are preparing all week long that the game plan. You just have to go out and you got to execute it. I just honestly got to give some credit to Michigan. They're a really good football team, and they've got linemen and defensive players that with speed, and they don't miss much. They make plays, they tackle well, they block well, they do the basics, about as good as any team I've seen. So, with that, it makes it tough when you're not doing those things, and we're not there, we're not there. And, again, credit to Michigan because they're a solid football team.
Well, I'm just a firm believer that we just got to beat the better teams. We're not just human beings, we're humans becoming, and we can get better and better too. And, they're getting better as the season goes on, but we don't seem to be getting better as the season going on. And I don't see how we're going to, blame this on Mickey. This talent that we brought in here was strictly Scott's responsibility, and I just can't see him winning with it. And I'm also a firm believer that what's up front that counts. We're just not giving our guys are doing well. Quarterbacks are doing well under the pressure, but it's just too much pressure all the time.
Well, I just don't like, watching the games and seeing the offense. Like, I've been specifically watching our defensive line, our offensive line.
Defensive line. Eric, the only thing you got to do to beat our defensive line is keep the ball on the ground. As long as you're running, they can't stop nothing. They can't stop. They can't catch a cold.
Yeah, well, I feel I don't know. I feel bad. I feel bad that this is happening because it's just not the norm. It's not what we're used to at Nebraska. I feel horrible. It's like, it's not supposed to happen. How can this be? No one's used to this. I know football is dynamic. There's you have to have the talent, you have to have the coaches, the nutrition, the weight room, the culture. I get all that. I'm not understanding why the defensive line and the offensive line can't get what we want in clutch situations. Why can't we stop somebody on, 3rd and 3 on a run, 3rd and 4 on a run? I mean, they're grabbing 10 yards of play.
They always get at least 5. Eric, we haven't had, I know guys who've grown up and hasn't had a winning season since you left. That's been 20 years ago now.
Yeah, they won with Bo though. They had winning season with Bo.
Oh, we got
quite a few
every year.
Yeah, they had pretty good season. They were
we didn't like that, so we fired him.
Yeah.
We fired him. We'll not have that.
I mean, I'll tell you guys.
I don't like Bo's attitude, so we're gonna get rid of him. Let's go see him winning game.
Going into this game, just hoping that the Huskers could cover and just make it, a better game than people thought. I mean, that was kind of where we were at with it. I don't think anybody ever really thought we were going to win. I was going through Twitter and they showed a highlight of like on this day, however many years ago in 2012, 10 years ago, it was like, the 19th ranked Huskers under Bo Pelini playing Penn State, number 12 in the country at Penn State and beating them. And it's just like, oh my, I would do anything to feel like that again. Like we can't win a game. We can't beat anybody. I mean,
well, they could have killed Bo.
I'm to the point where
like they did Osborne and get into it. Cause I remember Osborne couldn't beat Oklahoma.
The big game. That's a big game. Winning the 12th, beating the 12th. We can't go to a bowl game. That was a 12th ranked team in the country. That's a big game. We won it on the road. That's a big game. I think back in the Osborne era, I think I remember him saying, and I could be wrong with it. I think I remember him saying that like the big game is just the one that I lose. Like that's the big game. The big game every year is just the one that I don't win. And there's other games that I do win. That's never the big game. So
we got to beat some of these teams that we're not supposed to beat. We got to beat somebody.
Yeah, I think
we always got to win the games that we're supposed to win and beat win some of we're not supposed to win. But we can't win the ones we're supposed to win or the ones we're not supposed to win.
Yeah, I mean that's tough. That happened at the beginning of the year. I think what's happening now under Mickey is he has gotten the team to play better. I think what we're learning, so despite what we said, Chuba played better. I mean, at the end of the day, he was 6 of 12 for 56 yards. That's not, that was while he was in the game. That's, a lot of that came on one play, and it's just not enough.
Yeah, I mean, we had like sounds like one play. Yeah,
150 total yards. I think somewhere around 175, 150 total yards in the game. That's just not going to get it done. That's
not going to get it done. And kind of to your guys' point about the talent is just we're learning, unfortunately, and this is because honestly, we're all turning the page to next year or the future. We're learning that we don't really have a lot behind Casey Thompson, at least right now. I mean, they're both, Logan ended up being 4 of 8 for 15 in this second quarter. They're playing a great team. They're playing one of the best teams in the country. And you don't want to on the road in the snow. And it's like, and that's bad. But, you can't help but feel if Casey was in the game that it just looked a lot different. And even that is still not a team that was necessarily, Casey didn't win against Purdue. We didn't win when Casey was in against Purdue, but we had a chance. We didn't win when, in lots of games that Casey played in this year. And, we didn't beat Northwestern. A lot of that had to do with maybe the leadership of the team. But, it's just we've taken we've taken such a step back. It has to be concerning the talent, what we have in that room behind him, because, he probably won't be here next year. So
we don't have very much talent in the room behind him. At all.
There's been no answer for weeks.
We don't have it. How do we recruit all these kind of guys? All these guys, we can recruit better than this.
I think
where they come from. How do we think they're ever going to be the caliber that we need to play in our conference? How do we ever think that? Because we're just outmatched. Period.
Well, Johnny,
like I said, on the line, when you're running the ball, all you got to do to beat us is keep the ball on the ground, and then we can't hold the pass rush.
That's brutal.
Right. It's brutal. But
Well,
where's our line?
these guys were Chubba Purdy and Logan Smothers have been, pretty highly recruited players.
No, I'm talking about
Clearly
linemen.
haven't been developed.
I'm talking
They
about
haven't been
line. I'm
developed.
talking about the linemen. You
Well,
can't do anything without the line.
I don't know what's happened with Bryce Benhart. He was a highly recruited player. Some kids bust, but like you can tell he has the physical attributes of a player. These guys haven't been developed. And yeah, like Anthony Grant is a stud running back. Like I saw somebody said, on Twitter during the game, they were talking about our run game. And they were just like, well, I mean, if Anthony Grant played for Michigan, he'd probably have the same numbers, as their back, like that.
No, you're probably going to play as well as the guys next to you.
They're not blocking for him. He says nowhere to go.
Yeah.
He's a good player. We're recruiting well. We didn't develop, offensive linemen. You can't just recruit them. You have to develop them. Those guys are so used to playing in high school. They're not learning technique against Big Ten defensive fronts. Like they're the biggest guy on the field. They're just bowling over every defensive lineman they're playing against in high school. That's a position group that you have to develop. And it clearly hasn't happened.
You don't have freshman linemen that start when they're freshmen, no.
Not often, and it's pretty bad when Teddy Prohaska does, and he's your best offensive lineman, and that happened last year. That's not
well, and you got a young offensive line coach who's just starting his career off too. Donovan Raiola.
Oh, so, I feel so sorry for those guys.
You got all these things that kind of stack up against you. Injuries, young coach, young players hurt, people get hurt, and it just, I don't know.
Well, that's exactly why I'm saying that Mickey can't really be responsible for all these guys that have all these situations that Scott has brought in here. He's going to have the opportunity to bring his own guys in before he can be really truly judged on what he's putting together, because they have this enthusiasm. They just don't have the ability.
Right.
They just don't have the ability.
I think that, you can't hold Mickey accountable for the Chubba, for Logan Smothers not being developed. I mean, you could argue that you can hold Whipple accountable for Chubba Purdy not being developed at this point in the year. I mean, he came, I think Mark Whipple's the reason that Chubba Purdy's here, and you brought him here. He's been here for a year. He's not super ready to go, but I mean, I think they thought they were going to have Casey. I mean, you got to be ready. You got to be ready to have
the Big Ten. No, you as a I think, I mean, you got to have two guys ready to go all the time.
Yeah, all the time. Who do we hold accountable because we always look tired? I mean, I think our do you have a conditioning coach?
We
or
do.
Is there ever we do?
Duval. Yeah.
But they're not. They always look tired.
They don't.
They're a step off every day.
Yeah, I mean, Scott really told
nobody's kicking off in fourth quarter at all. We always, you know what we say every week? They started off good. They started off good. They looked good in the first quarter.
They didn't look that good in the first quarter of this game. They didn't really look that good at any point. This
they don't look at
game.
any point. Yeah. It's unimaginable.
I don't know what they do with the future here. I mean, it's a question of just development in terms of quarterback play. I don't know. They may have to look to the portal like they did this year with Casey. Like going forward, whoever ends up being the head coach next year, that ends up being a huge question mark. Because I think a lot of people felt like Chubba could be the answer. We're not going to probably get to see Chubba for the rest of the year because he has a high ankle sprain. I'm pretty sure they probably are shutting him down. Hopefully we get to see Casey back this week. There's the potential for that. And if we don't, we're going to see Logan Smothers play again. Hopefully in a better position than he kind of got put in. I did feel for Logan, like, it's another time you didn't get the start. You're coming in, it's snowing on the road, and you're playing against Michigan and you're already down, and it's not a great place to be as a quarterback. I know Eric kind of talked about that. Just like I kind of think for both kids, it's been letting them both practice. You got to kind of go with the guy. I kind of wish that if they were going to go with Logan, that they gave him the reins of the offense, let him take all the reps, let him go in. They decided to kind of they straddled the fence until the end of the week. So you practice better, went with Chubba, then Chubba ends up getting hurt. So I don't know what they do with the future going forward, but the future without Casey looks like is pretty bleak. But what's next for this team? What do you guys think? Like, we're talking about all of this and about the future, like we're turning the page. We got 2 games left. It's, as much as Scott is gone, this is really, like you've pointed out, Johnny, is his team. This is Scott's team. Everything, when Riley left and Scott came, the team looked different than than it had under Riley completely. You had different players come in, you had different coaches come in, and that's probably we're looking at going into next year. And so this is the last 2 games for what has been, the Scott Frost era. And this group of guys like Garrett Nelson. And, I saw Colton Feist after the game just said, who knows who will be here next year. So 2 games left.
Well,
what do they do with it?
I won't miss too many of them. They can all go.
I mean, I'll miss some of these kids. Like, I love Garrett Nelson. There's so much about this group of guys that I do like their enthusiasm. I don't think it's necessarily their fault that they weren't, some of these guys weren't developed right. Like you said, these guys have played with enthusiasm, which is more that you could say for the team that Scott inherited. That Riley team last year was playing with, they just didn't care at the end. So these guys have played hard. I mean, they just clearly
they
have not been developed.
The attitude on the team is a lot of these guys don't believe that they can do it. They don't have good attitudes. And you don't have to have everybody. If you got a few bad attitudes, it's enough to throw you off really, really bad. It gets to be contagious.
Right.
It gets to be, and everybody takes a turn in making an error. Everybody gets a turn in making a mistake. You can't, I remember in the game of the century, we had 1 penalty between both teams the whole game. The whole game.
That's discipline. Impressive. I mean, I feel, that's discipline. That's impressive. But I do feel
that's what we need to get back to. I mean, Nebraska needs to have discipline, and
you need to run those guys. First of all,
senior leadership.
You got to be in shape. Are they running the shape? Are they running the stairs and doing the conditioning after practice? I mean, I know they only allowed to work them so hard, so much about NCAA rules, but there's no rule on how much you work yourself.
Speaking of NCAA rules, I mean, maybe it's the NIL. Maybe we just need to maybe we need to turn into the Yankees and just pay these players as much as we can, like get them all in here, get the best talent we can get in here and pay them.
For that.
I think there's no question that we need to do that, and we're going to do that.
Let's fork out millions of dollars and bring in the best, just get the #1 recruiting class in the country.
Why not?
And you can't blame it on talent.
No, we got more millionaires in Nebraska than we got anywhere in the country. More per capita, we got the money.
I mean, I feel for these kids because as much as it's like you don't have the right. I mean, if you feel like you can't win, it's not a good attitude. I mean, part of it is you need to win. They lose all their games after 4 years. How are you going to feel like you're going to win the game after you lose every game? It's tough. And to your point, like even not blaming talent. The recruiting classes have been ranked high. It's not like we're not recruiting better than Northwestern. We're recruiting better than Illinois. We're recruiting better than Wisconsin. We're just not developing that talent to win games, to be disciplined, and to do. You
keep saying how we're recruiting good, but we don't develop them. I mean,
we're not developing.
Well, how are we recruiting? There's guys that don't need that much development. Where are they?
I think a lot of these guys, particularly at the positions we're talking about, like in the trenches, those guys need to be developed at this level. And like, we haven't done it. And I don't really want to leave it at Donovan's, Royola's feet. He's been here for a year. Like, I think to really get an offensive line culture and development turned around, you probably need at least 2 seasons. And so Greg Austin left us kind of high and dry on this, but it's the situation we're in. I think, NIL, I think the fact that we can pay players and get talent here will be attractive to a coach if it's not Mickey, right? So that's the future. But I guess as 2 former players, I think, I guess the question still stands. Like, I know you guys weren't in this position because you guys were on, nationally contending teams. But if you could put yourself in their place, like, what would you do? 2 games left. This team's not going to be together. The coaches won't be here probably. At least the makeup will be very different next year. And I think that's what, Colton Feist is trying to say. How would you guys approach rivalry games against Wisconsin and Iowa?
Well, I mean, I'll back up just a little bit. I'll get to that question, but I'm just in my mind thinking, okay, going back to where a lot of people say Nebraska kind of lost the dynasty was the year that I was my senior year. It was at Colorado, and a lot of people point to this game at Colorado where we lost like 62 to 30 something, and the defense gave up like 500 or 600 yards. And people always kind of point to that game as like, oh, that was the turning point for Nebraska's, dynasty that they've had. And I just, in my mind, thinking like, okay, so we've been in this position for 20 plus years. I wouldn't say 20 plus. I mean, Bo's years were pretty good years. But you moved to the Big Ten, and you've really struggled. And now 6 years, I think it is, without a bowl game. And I'm kind of waiting for the next like turning point, like what game or what play or what something that happens to the program that we can say, okay, that was big. That was a big moment, and that's like a defining moment where Nebraska has like turned the page. And I think this is kind of working into the question that you're asking me is what's the future hold? How does it get done? Like, no, I don't have the crystal ball, but I mean, we're talking about all these things, but it's not going to, I mean, winning these last 2 games would be huge. That's not going to, I think more importantly, if you're a player on this team and you have any, dignity in your body and your bones whatsoever, and you love the game of football, you go out and you play for your team and for yourself and for, the fact that you just love the sport and you want to play the best football that you can play. You want to practice it, but I mean, what you could piddle around for 2 weeks and piss and moan about everything at practice and make it awful for everybody, or you could just go out and have some fun. I mean, football, I don't know about you, Johnny. I had fun playing football. I had fun practicing. I mean, you got to just go out and have fun. You got to like keep the spirits high. It would suck to go out and practice where everybody's like, oh, I can't believe I have practice. Oh man, like, oh, we're gonna get beat. Like the attitudes of the players and the team, and I think that's what they're fighting a little bit right now. They're fighting that not everybody believes that they can do it, but you got to snap out of that. You got to think that you can beat the guy in front of you and that you can build your team. Start having meetings. Start breaking down more film. Start gathering guys up for extra snaps after practice and before practice, so that when that time and that moment comes in that game, you can make that 3rd and 10 throw, and you've been working on that option route. And if the defender moves this way, you can trust your tight end or receiver to go this way, and you can let the ball fly, and you can make the first down. But that stuff just doesn't seem to be happening right now. When we need a play, we can't get it. So, I mean, there's just things that aren't happening from the player's perspective. I don't know if the coaches are demanding it enough. I don't know where their heads are at. These last 2 games, you're not going to a bowl game. So, it's about pride. It's about playing, there's a lot to fight for, especially for Mickey, I think, and his coaching and being here next year. So,
well, I'd like somebody to tell me that these guys are working harder after practice than they're working during practice. Because if they keep doing the same thing they're doing, they're going to keep getting what they're getting. We got to put in extra work to get better. It's just not going to get it with the mindset we got, with the conditioning we got. Everybody sees that we're getting tired. Everybody sees that we're getting manhandled. Like I said, you can't just keep the ball on the ground all the time, and we can't stop anybody. We can't make a yard when we need it. We got to have guys we can go to and get you a couple yards whenever you need it behind our offensive tackles. We guys got to be standing people up and blowing them over, on defense. But that takes extra work after practice, off the field, at home. You're doing work at home. You're doing all different type of things. And it has to be contagious, where those guys just want to do collectively whatever is necessary to win. Winning isn't everything. But here in Nebraska, we rate it right up there with oxygen. It's pretty darn important, But you got to show it. But I don't think that they're really putting that much effort into it off the field, because they look too tired all the time. I could see at the beginning he might be a little out of shape, but so you got to get in shape. Somebody has to be an example. Who do I see excelling at any time on the lines? because we're not going to excel in the backfield until our linemen get it together.
Yeah.
And offense and defense. Offense and defense. I don't see nobody blowing nobody out on either side of the ball. I don't see nobody that's capable or got that type of enthusiasm. I don't see the game tackling. I mean, they blowing holes. They getting 4 or 5 yards every time they blow up in there, or if not 10.
Yeah. And
missing tackles, arm tackling. Yeah, act like they don't even understand the fundamentals, and then nobody's pointing them out. I can see it happening here or there, but the same people are making the same mistakes every week.
Yeah, and I can tell you this, I've been critical of the quarterbacks on this podcast, and I can tell you that I did mention this last week, but I really was disappointed with Trey continuing to drop balls. At some point, I understand that we've put a different quarterback in, but this guy is looking
touch it, you have to catch it. You touch it,
if Logan Smothers hits you on the hands on third down, you better catch it.
Or else you don't get in the game no more.
What is going on? That was he dropped one for Chuba, and this is not one to just Michigan game. He did that same problem with drops against Minnesota, and that killed us. Like that killed that Minnesota game. It could have been a win, even with a backup quarterback. And these guys, everybody on the team needs a win. And if you're gonna be if you're gonna be the impact player, the guy, it's not the case he's not in. You got to make that play. You got to do that. You got to lead. When you drop that ball, when you're a player like Trey Palmer on this team, that affects everybody that you're supposed to be leading them. They're looking to see you make the play. You're an impact player. You're a leader. You lead through your play too. You're not, I don't think Trey Palmer's a super vocal leader. He leads by his play, making everybody believe because of how he's going. And if you're just going to, on a 5-yard pass, get hit in the hands and drop it, and we're going to move on. And then Logan threw a tough pass to him, but you got to know, on a bubble screen, you got to know he threw it low. You can't catch it and take a knee. That's not going to work. That's not going to do it. You can't do that.
I don't think he panicked. His booty got tight.
yeah. That's not good. I was really disappointed with that. But I hope that for them, because ultimately, these guys are kids. A lot of them won't get to play football. Most of them won't get to play football. You guys keep saying that. These are not kids. These are young men. They're young men. Yeah,
we keep saying they're kids. They're not kids. They're young men.
Young men
do incredible things because they're in condition. They're at the top of their game. They're not going to be like talent. That. Yeah, they got it right now. They're young men. They're capable. They can do it if they want to do it. They just don't have that desire to really put out that extra thing collectively.
Right. Well, even as young men, they may play. This might be some of these guys. It'll be their last game. A lot of them. A lot of people don't play at the next.
I'm glad.
It's their last game. So I hope for their sake, like Eric said, they have dignity. They have pride.
I don't think they want to play no more games.
And try to.
Coach Vandy would have sent them home.
He would have been done with them. Yeah. He would have been
done with them. We wouldn't have that. Too many mistakes. We didn't have nobody making mistakes after mistakes. The team wouldn't take it. The team wouldn't take it. You can see on the film or during film day who's doing what every week. Yeah, you can see it. I would be so embarrassed. I would know. How do you take it every week?
Oh, the film that Bryce Penhart puts out there, I'm just like, how do you? I don't know if you guys have seen the video. You see the video on our blocked extra point where he just stays in his 3-point stance. They hike the ball and he just stands there and comes over him and blocks the kick. He doesn't even touch. I'm like, you may not have known the case. Like when, you might not have gotten the play. You didn't react when they snapped it. When the guy was jumping over you, why are you still in the 3-point stance? Like, stop him. He's coming for your kicker.
I swear to God, we just sent him home. That guy. I swear to God, we just sent him home. He'd been gone right then. Yeah. How do you feel like that when you say got the film going on in the film room with everybody and they see you didn't even make an effort?
Oh, and the fall starts. Yeah, that's been a tough ride for that guy as his career as a Husker. But they do have Wisconsin on the docket here. So That's the next game up. It is an easier game than Michigan. It's probably a lot easier than Michigan. They played a lot better under our Jim Leonard. And do we think it's winnable? Is it winnable for the Huskers at this point? Does it hinge on Casey Thompson? No Casey Thompson, do we even have a chance? I mean, even with Casey Thompson, do we have a chance?
Well, we always got a chance. We always got a chance.
Yes.
If you believe you can do it, you can do it. You just got to get more of them believing it together. We just don't have everybody on the same page. Some guys are just actually scared. When you're scared of making a mistake, then you make a mistake.
Right.
You know, they're not very prepared. They're scared. They're not trusting the guy next to them. They can't depend on the guy next to them. And anything can happen. You could get hurt for real. So a lot of our quarterbacks are getting hurt because of the line play.
Yeah, I think the quarterbacks have gotten hurt this year. I mean, I think
because of our line play.
Yeah.
Fear is an awful thing, man.
It sure is. I remember that one time I got scared.
That one time,
chicken?
Johnny?
Is it that chicken?
One time, yeah, one time.
One time you got scared?
That was it. That was
chicken.
it.
Oh, that
The
chicken was
rooster.
gonna get
It was a rooster.
rooster.
That spooked you, Johnny.
Boy, I pulled my booty out and I ain't been tight since.
But yeah, particularly for the quarterbacks. I mean, I'm sure Eric does. If you're worried you're going to get killed, how are you making the right decisions back there?
And they are. They don't know when it's going to happen. It happens almost every time. You're scrambling every time. When do they get to? They could take a 3-step drop, maybe, but the 5-step drop, that's out. What happened to the double moves? I used to run a down, out, and a down. I get him that deep that goes down and out and pull it back, and he bite, and I turn it up on him, and then we let it go. That means we're getting time.
Trey Palmer doesn't need to do that
time
much.
like that.
Trey Palmer doesn't need to do that much. He doesn't need to do a down, up, down. He's open. I mean, he's faster than everybody on the field. Catch the ball with your hands. If the ball comes to you, catch it with your hands.
You're right. If you touch it, you got to know you got to catch it.
But this is not a Wisconsin defense at all. They're giving up 20 points a game. Our offense in spurts has been good. Iowa took advantage of them last week. Particularly Iowa's defense, turn turnovers into points.
Well, everybody in spurts can.
I'd like to just see some consistent football. We're not, one quarter here, or first half here, and then the second half you kind of feel like, once the second half starts, I'm like, I get a little bit like, what's gonna happen here? Because we've seen this, and it would just be nice if they could put 4 quarters of football together, consistently without the penalties and mistakes, and the mental errors with the drops, or quarterbacks getting rid of the ball, running backs hitting the holes that they see, and understanding that it's going to close up quick, so you got to hit it a little faster, and so I'd like to see.
And the lineman say, "Hey, look, come over me. Come over. You got need it. Come over me. I got you. I got you."
Yeah. Somebody confident enough to just say, "Look, man, I'm going to work on my guy, and
I got him."
Spend double the amount of time watching film and find something that is glaring on film that you can get a competitive advantage. I mean, there's areas of weaknesses in every team, and so that's kind of the that week that you have leading up to it. You get to find their tendencies, find their weaknesses, and then get a game plan that can attack those weaknesses. So, and they have them. They've been beat. They're not. I mean, they've lost 5 games already. So it's not like.
Yeah, they're not. There's nothing insurmountable about this at all.
Maybe 6. So
they're probably
interesting.
They're probably the of the rush defenses we faced. Probably week after week here. Illinois, Minnesota, Michigan. They're the worst defense probably of the 3 group. Those 3 teams. We've been able to have some success against those teams. Not Michigan, but the other teams we were able to have some success against.
But our defense can only do so much. We got to score. You got to score some points.
The defense, to be honest, looking at the defensive play against Michigan, I mean, I remember watching the first half, back-to-back stops. We made them go 3 and out. And our offense went 3 and out in return. And I just looked around the room and said, you can't do that against this team on the road. You can't do that to your defense. And you're asking, why are they tired? Why is the defense tired? They get you 2 stops and you just put them right back out there against a Michigan's front. They're bigger than them. I mean, they're like, how much are they? They're going to be gassed. Anybody's going to be gassed against anybody. We play NFL teams. You just go out there and go 3 and out over and over again. That defense is getting rolled over by the end of that game. Like that, you can't do that. And we've done that a few times. So the key here will be offensively, no matter who it is, if get Anthony Grant going, whoever's playing quarterback, they got to be efficient, and the playmakers have to make plays.
Well,
Trey Palmer has to start making some plays.
Sam, you're talking like we don't have backups. If our men have to go in there back to back to back, we got to have backup men. It's like I told you about John Dutton and Monty Johnson. They played second team.
Yeah, I mean, but it's a bad recipe as a rule of thumb. I just think it's a bad. If your offense doesn't get going, your defense is going to be in a. It's you got to play complementary football. Is what I'm trying to say. Like,
well, I understand what you're saying, but I know you're only going to keep your guys. You're not playing the same guys over and over. We got guys that we're rotating all, but
they're rotating them in. But
our offense has to make the plays. And like I said, an offensive tackle got to be able to say, "Hey, come over me. I can get that 5 yards for you. Get behind me." And sometimes, what happened to running sweeps? Do we always run up the middle?
I still think they can run it anyway.
Let's power sweep left, power sweep right. I mean, let's run a team. If we got smaller guys,
or some counters.
Counters.
Yeah.
I run counters and traps all the time. You got to be elusive. We can hand the guy the ball and he runs up the middle and see if he can find a hole. And it ain't no hole.
I was a little disappointed about that, and I think watching the Michigan game, I understood in the first half when Chubba was out there why they're playing Chubba. Because I think that they're sticking with the offense that they've been running. It's a pass first offense, and they're just like, we're not gonna, Chubba's has the better arm. We got to play Chubba. But what I kind of hope to see against, particularly playing an opponent like that, like just mix it up a little bit, run an offense that's a little different with Logan, where you focus on the run. I just don't think they focus on the run detail that much in this offense. I've never gotten that impression where I think at least when Scott was was calling the plays, there were more plays like that and that were harder to stop with Adrian was here too. That makes a difference, but I think that's a big piece of it.
Counters and traps do work.
Yeah, I know. I think if we were more detailed in our run game and had more concepts for our run blocking to help out our offensive line that's clearly getting worked. Like that, they're clearly getting worked. You don't change anything. We just run at them. It's not going to be open.
And you can't move them. They can't move them. You know that. That's why you got to run. That's why you got to do the trapped in the counters. Because they can't move.
They just called draw after draw for Anthony Grant. It didn't work. It worked a couple times, and then it stopped working. And they didn't have another answer. They just kept trying.
Yeah, when they get tired, they get tired tackling our ass.
But yeah, they're getting tired of.
That's what it works. We work the ass to death.
They get tired of tackling.
Get tired tackling. Let them go this time. They're not going to go far.
Well, I think it would be a big win. I think it'd be a big win if Nebraska can pull it off. I know it's 2 games, but there's no reason why.
If we can win both of these games, we really
they're winnable games.
They're winnable games. Iowa's not that tough either.
Yep.
And I get tired of Iowa beating us. That's just unheard of.
Wisconsin.
I get tired of everybody beating us.
Wisconsin, we haven't. I think it's been longer. We haven't beaten Wisconsin. It's been even longer than Iowa. We haven't won since that year we lost to them. Yeah, since the year we lost to them in the Big Ten championship, we got blown out. That year we played them in the regular season at home, and that was the last win that we had against them. So I would love to see that. I hope these guys, like a lot of them, playing in Memorial Stadium for the last time. For those guys, I hope the whole team pulls around them and finds a way to at least make this a good one, make it a good game. Well, I really, really, really hope so.
It's going to be up to the black skirts.
The black
Come on,
skirts.
you stop that, Johnny.
Yeah,
stop that.
You stop that.
It is.
I think it's more on the offense than the defense in this one. I think the defense will show up and play hard. The offense has to find a way to get more than 2 first downs in the first half.
Well, I've seen Wisconsin's going to be watching film, and all you got to do is keep it on the ground. We can't stop the ground. That's all we got to do is blow up
That's
the
what
middle.
they're going to try to do.
That's what they're going, and that's what they always try to do anyway.
They're only averaging about 170 yards rushing a game. This is a little different Wisconsin team than what we've seen. Like I said, they only won about, they
haven't played us yet. The average to go back up.
Well, hopefully we find a way to stop them. That's our show for this week. Tune in next week to see if we do rise up and finally get a W against those Badgers.
All right.
As always, go Big Red.
Every day's game day, y'all.
See you guys next time.